I love that. And I think that's a great way to approach nutrition, because I think a lot of us, when we are looking for the answers of how do I do this, we want to gravitate to those hard and fast rules, because it's like, okay, I can't mess this up because I have a rule. And if I follow this rule, it'll be okay. Except for that's not always possible, like you said.
Right.
And then we shame ourselves into like, I did it again. I failed once again.
Right, because every diet out there teaches you you have to follow the rules, and if you follow the rules, then you'll be successful. But anything less is a failure. We're not perfect. We're gonna screw up. I always tell people the screw up isn't the problem. Let's say you grabbed a cookie. You eating a cookie is not a big deal. You telling yourself, I ate a cookie, I shouldn't have done that, I'm a terrible person, I'm never going to lose weight, I can never be disciplined, this is so terrible, and then proceeding to eat a whole sleeve of cookies. That's the problem, not the one cookie that you consume. And so much of nutrition is changing your mindset. I had a gentleman who was looking to lose weight, and he said to me, well, I always clean my plate because I feel like it's respectful to the person who made the meal. And so I just asked him, like, well, how does that show respect? And he was like, I don't know. I just always thought that. I was like, well, what would it look like to show your self respect in that moment and show the person respect? And all of a sudden he's like, huh, I got to think about that. So much of nutrition for adults, especially, it's unlearning. Like you said, some of your habits and patterns were developed when you were 9 and 10 years old and going on diets. And so you learned something in that moment, you held on to it as if it was truth, and then you've developed a whole set of rules based off of those truths that you came up with as a younger child. So much of adult nutrition education is unlearning those things that we assume to be true and sometimes just need to be challenged. Like, well, how do you want to feel about this? What if we thought about it in a different way? Because our thoughts are what create our feelings create our behaviors, and our behaviors create our outcomes. It all originates with our thoughts. So if you don't like your outcome, then most times, more times than not, it's because you created a thought that's not helpful or kind or true. And so they need to be challenged so that we can think differently, so we can do differently and have different outcomes. I hope that made sense.
It did make sense. And you touched on so many things. I'm like, I feel like you're in my head again. Because I think for those of us who were chronic dieters, like myself, and I can only speak for me, but I'm going to assume that it's a general thing, food becomes the enemy. It's like, I don't want to eat because I know the path that it's going to take me, and it's always bad. I think being able to shift your mindset around that would be huge. Is there anything that we can do to shift our mindset around that?
Well, a simple one is just no longer allowing yourself to categorize foods as good or bad. Remember that book that came out years ago, Eat This, Not That? This is good, this is bad. And that's not true. Food is not bad. What is good for one person may not be good for another. So it's not fair to categorize foods when different foods mean different things to different people. Again, there's no one size fits all with this. Problem with categorizing foods as good or bad is we inherently categorize ourselves as good or bad based on what we ate. I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, oh, I was so bad today? Right? We know exactly what they mean. Ooh, what did you eat?
Yeah.
Right? And when you assign a moral value to yourself, like I was bad today, how does that make you feel? Lousy,
Yeah.
right?
And it usually leads to a lot more eating.
Yes, because now you need comfort because you basically just shamed yourself and blamed yourself and guilted yourself, which we all think, oh, it's going to motivate me. I would just look at myself in the mirror and point out all my flaws and all my fat and how terrible I am, and that's going to motivate me to do better. Really? All it does is make us feel horrible, and then we go eat because that's our coping strategy. So, something as simple as not categorizing food as good or bad has such a tremendous ripple effect. Just that one little change in thought is massive. And a lot of people will ask me, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I not categorize food as good or bad? Well, number one is your thoughts. So if oh, I can't eat that, that's bad. It's literally, nope, I'm not allowed to think that way anymore. Food is not good or bad. It's just food. And every time you have the thought, oh, I'm being good today. No, I am not good based off of what I eat. It's retraining your brain how to think about something. Yeah. If you say the words, oh, I was so bad. If you hear yourself saying it to somebody, No, sorry, I gotta take that back. That's not true. And fix your sentence. That's how you change your mindset. It's by correcting yourself in the moment and giving your brain a new direction and repetition. And then you're going to get cocky and you're going to think you got it. Nope, that just means you need more practice.
Right? I think a lot of the times what I do when I'm trying to reset my mindset around something, because I can be really, really mean to myself, but I'm a nice person in general. So once I say something to myself, I'm like, ooh, would I say that to anybody else but me? And usually the answer is no.
Right. That's always a really good a checkpoint. Would I say this to a 4-year-old? If you wouldn't say it to a
Yeah.
4-year-old, then you shouldn't say it to yourself. And we think, oh, but it's just me. I can handle it. No, you can't. It's amazing how your whole mindset changes when you're kind to yourself. But we think it's
Yeah.
okay to belittle ourselves because we can handle it. Nope.
Someone once told me that your unconscious self is like a 5 or 7 year old child. It has no ability to reason. So talk to yourself like you would talk to a little kid. So that's a really good point. You were talking about proactive eating earlier instead of reactive eating. We started a little bit with the car analogy. So would it be helpful then to think about, instead of thinking about foods being good or bad, to think of them as fuel for the car? Some fuel is going to be better than others.
Yes. So, or you can think of things in terms of good, better, best. So, again, not good or bad, good, better, best. There's some that are going to be better for you, but it's very subjective. I always look at how does this make me feel? Do I notice I'm more energized or do I feel more lethargic? Does my stomach hurt when I eat these? And I start to look at which foods make me feel my best. Obviously, I want to eat them more because I like feeling good. Now, that doesn't mean I don't ever eat a cookie or, a dessert or anything like that because I also get enjoyment from those foods, but I pay attention to how it feels in my body and I try to eat the foods that are more consistent with how I want to feel.
I remembered something that you and I had talked about before, which was you have to eat your fuelings, not your feelings, because that's something that I struggle with. It's like food is just food, Veronica. It's not happiness.
Right.